Good afternoon, everyone. It is Wednesday, November 16th at 3 o'clock p.m., which means it is time for Women in Business. Now, we're trying something a little different today. I thought it would be interesting to take one of the presentations that I've taught in the past in other places and do it here on the show. And there's a couple of reasons for this. Number one is because Virtual Applique Getaway started yesterday, and yay for that. And I thought this might be an interesting piece of content for the people in that group to have. And I've also had people in the Women in Garment Decoration group who have been asking about various social media or marketing things. And I've been talking a little bit about maybe doing some classes there. So I thought, okay, I can kill a bunch of birds with one stone here and try this out and see how I do. Now, if you are interested, this is the Women in Garment Decoration group. I'm going to do a few plugs just because why not? And you could also go like the Women and Business Facebook page. I would appreciate that. And if you do want to leave comments and StreamYard will not show your name, you can go to streamyard.com/Facebook and give them permission to do so. So that's a lot of information I just threw at you all at once. I understand that. But what we really want to talk about today is this. And I apologize for the fact that there isn't really a good way to do this. If I make the picture of me bigger, the slides don't show up as well, and I want you to see the slides because that's kind of the whole point of having them here. So we'll go with that and see how we do. So what we're talking about today is basically finding your target market, finding the people you want to communicate with, and how to do that. And it's not really, there's no magic formula. People tend to think that there's this huge magic formula that they're supposed to know, or that there's some silver bullet social media place, or there's some silver bullet social media tactic that's going to get them all the notice and all the publicity that they want. Doesn't really happen that way. I wish I could say that it did. I can't. But let's start off with what I call the publicity timeline. And most of you are probably familiar with this. It starts off with basically nobody knows who you are. They don't know why they should care. They don't know your name. They don't know what you do. They don't know anything. And then if you've done a little bit of publicity, people will start going, oh, yeah, I think I've heard of them. Yeah, aren't they the ones that do that thing? And they don't maybe have a really good idea of who you are or what you do, but they are sort of starting to know who you are. And then we get to I know them, which is they recognize your name and they're familiar enough with you to have at least a vague idea of what you do. They may not be entirely clear on it, and they may not be entirely clear on why they would want to work with you, but they have some name recognition. And then from there, when you've done quite a bit of good publicity, you get to I want them, which means people know who you are and they are eager to work with you. They want you to do stuff for them. So when you make a pitch or when you approach someone, the response is really positive, which is a great thing. And when that happens, it's like you won the lottery because you feel like all the work that you've put in is paid off. And then finally, we get to what I would call the ultimate stage, which is I want them, which is people coming to you saying, I want to work with you. I know what you do. I've heard good things. I want to work with you. And that, I think, is the ultimate goal for everyone. And it's really what we should be aiming for. Now, I'm not going to lie, getting to the get me them stage is a lot of work. It's not something that's going to happen overnight or even in 6 months. It may take a couple concentrated years of work and getting noticed and getting talked about before people will get to that stage, but it can be done. So, social media, we're going to start here because it's one of the things that I do. And it's also one of the main ways to get noticed and known. And I think that a lot of people who use social media in aid of business or in aid of I love this comment, and I can't see who anyone is, and I'm sorry about that, but that's my Sheila Ryan, I'm assuming you're referring to the Get Me Her person. I love working with her, and I love Sheila too, and she's definitely on my Get Me Her list too. So, social media is basically a great way to build communities, build trust, get people to know who you are. But there's some ways you have to approach it to make it work at its highest level for you. And let's start with figuring out where you should be on social media, because sadly, a lot of people get this wrong. And the reason that they get it wrong is because honestly, a lot of times they listen to the experts. And you'll notice that my third little point there says, don't listen to the experts. And yes, I don't know that I would call myself an expert, but I am including me in that. Don't listen to what other people tell you, but we'll get to that in a minute. The first thing and the most basic mistake that a lot of people make is they don't know who they're trying to talk to. They don't know who their target market is. And if you don't know that, then you don't know how to figure out any of the rest of your social media puzzle. And that's a problem. And no, as it says on the bottom here, your target market is not everyone. Every time somebody says that to me, I just cringe because first of all, it's a cop-out answer. And second of all, there is no company in the world, no matter how big, that has a target market of everyone. That's why there's 40 million types of Nike sneakers, because Nike sneakers, Nike sports shoes, whatever we're calling them, because they're targeting a different segment with each different type of shoe. So they're segmenting their market. They know their market isn't everyone. They know their market is a bunch of niches, and they need to figure out what the niches are so they can market effectively to the people in that niche. So yeah, this is more work, not going to lie, but the results are a lot more effective. And once you have narrowed down who your target audience is, then you need to figure out where they go. And this is another mistake that people make on social media, and it's one that can be really disheartening sometimes, is you know who your target market is, but you don't take the time to figure out where they are. So you're over on Facebook just ripping your heart out trying to communicate, and they're all over on Twitter wondering where you are, basically, or working with other companies that are there. So once you know who your target audience is, you need to figure out where they are on social media. And that means asking them. That means paying attention. That means looking to maybe a bunch of different platforms until you find your people. And yeah, again, this is work, but the payoff is when you find the places that these people are, then you will be in a much better position to communicate with them. And your communication will be more effective. In essence, you won't be wasting your time. And that's what we all want on social media, really, is everybody says social media is a waste of time. It takes up too much time, blah, blah, blah. For businesses, social media doesn't have to be a waste of time, but you have to do some forward planning. You have to put some thought into it, and you have to do some work to make sure that it isn't a waste of time. And that leads me to my third point here. Don't ask the experts. Don't listen to the experts. There are a lot of people who write about social media, and I will put my hand up to this myself. I've written about social media quite a bit in the past, but I don't think I've ever said everybody should be here. In fact, I'm pretty sure I haven't, because I'm very against that phrase. I don't think there's one platform for everyone. I don't think that everybody should be on Facebook or everyone should be on TikTok and certainly don't think everyone should be on Twitter since Elon Musk bought it. But you don't need, there is no silver bullet platform. And the experts are pushing whatever platform is big at the moment, honestly, or whatever platform works for their purposes, or honestly, whatever platform they've had really good success on. And that's because for them it worked. But you don't know where you should be until you basically run some experiments and find out. And that's one of those things where, again, it's work and it's time. And I'm going to say this so much, and you're probably going to go, yeah, we got it. It's work and it's time. Thanks, we get it. But here's the thing. Good social media, good publicity of any kind is work. Building name recognition, building a community, building trust, it's work. Trust me, I've been doing this for, good Lord, well, 16 years in this industry, and before that in another industry. And you have to spend the time to build the reputation that you want. And Eric has a good comment here. I feel like folks are still making some of these mistakes regularly, and we've been talking about them since our first webinar. Some of the basics of promotion don't change no matter the medium. And Eric gets a little bit of the weariness that I sometimes have about talking about these things, because he's not wrong. Eric and I have been doing this for 16 plus years now. Some of these things I think I talked about the first time I ever did a webinar or a podcast with someone, and I'm still talking about them. So that's a lot of years. So Eric is not wrong about that. And thank you for the comment, Eric. I do appreciate it very much. And it's kind of sad that we're still talking about this stuff. But the reason that we're still talking about this stuff is because there are new people getting into marketing, starting businesses, learning all this stuff. And there are also people out there, sadly, who are putting out information that may not be the most accurate. So part of what people like Eric and I try to do, and Aaron Montgomery and Nikki Demkowitz and any number of other people, Marshall Atkinson, and I don't know, I could list you names for a year. What we try to do is give you the straight scoop and tell you how things work and what we know from our experience. And I'm never going to tell you everybody should be anywhere, everywhere. And I'm never going to tell you that you shouldn't be somewhere. That's not for me to say. You know your market and you know how you relate to people better than I do. So you need to make the decision. You need to run the experiments. You need to figure it out. So social media options. Again, most of you probably already know these, but let's talk about a few of them. Facebook is a combo of words and pictures and video. Now, people will say Facebook is old people's social media. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think you have to find out if your audience is there. And it's kind of one of those easy things. Oh, Facebook's the one that, you know, all the old people use now. And it's all about people seeing pictures of their grandkids and whatever. I don't think that's true necessarily. Now, in some cases it is. And if you sell baby things, or if you sell, you know, stuffed animals for kids or whatever it is, Facebook may be huge for you, because yeah, there is a population of grandmas and aunts and uncles who are looking at pictures of little kids in their family and want to buy them stuff. Nothing wrong with that. Facebook does have business options and pages and groups, and it's a good way to build a community. Instagram is all about pictures. I have to say, Instagram for me, because I am a words person and pictures are always secondary to me, is something that I'm still working out. It has lots of pictures, very few words, big on hashtags. There are influencers on Instagram who have made a ton of money and done very, very well. So if you have work that is very visual and you can take really awesome pictures, and that is the thing about Instagram and Pinterest both, they need really good pictures. If you're like me and you often as not get your thumb in the picture, probably shouldn't be on Instagram and Pinterest. I'm not a good photographer. I will totally admit that. Pinterest, I think, is a very neglected resource for a lot of decorators. And that's because it's aspirational. It's people looking for ideas for things they want to do. And if you have a shop and you do certain types of garments or whatever, then having boards that can inspire people can be a great way to sell some product. And you also need to remember Pinterest is about long tail sales because it's about people putting things on boards for stuff they want to do later. So you can put something out and maybe the sale doesn't come for 6 months, but you haven't wasted the time because somebody saved it or somebody's saved it and they will come back to you later. So I think Pinterest is actually a really, really neglected resource for a lot of decorators. TikTok, I have to again put my hand up. TikTok isn't something I've spent a lot of time with. I did say in this slide, which to be fair to myself, I wrote a year ago, a couple years ago, and at the time it was being called the latest fad social media site. I don't know that that's necessarily true anymore. I think that now TikTok is something that a lot of people are using very effectively. I have seen some people in our industry that are using it really effectively. But it is one of those things that it's mostly short videos. So you have to have the ability to do good, fun, short videos. And its usefulness may really depend on who your market is. That's not to say it's not useful. I don't necessarily think it's a fad anymore. I think it's established enough now that people aren't suddenly going to get a wild hair and go do something else. So I don't know. Like I said, TikTok is not something I've really dealt with a lot just because I got enough on my plate dealing with the ones I do deal with, and that's a lot. And Eric says again, and Eric, you're being so sweet to me. You are doing the good work sharing this. Folks should at least take heart in that it can be learned and it becomes natural when you know it and let it become a part of your work in an organic way. And he's totally right. The people get really worried, I think, sometimes that they don't understand everything about social media. When the reality is, even those of us who have been doing it for years and years and years, and I don't even want to say how many years, but a lot of years, don't get it all. There are new platforms that are come up. There are new options. The platforms change. The algorithms change. A lot of things can happen. So it's better to get out there and just try and do your research and figure out as much as you can before you get on the platform, because the whole goal is not to waste your time. And the best way to waste your time is to not do your prep work. It's like if you're screen printing a shirt, and I'm going to mess this up horribly, and you don't prep your screens right, or you don't have the flash drive working right, or whatever it is, then the ultimate outcome is not going to be good. So you need to be aware of that and do the prep work. So a common misconception, I don't even know what that is. A common misconception: it costs tons of money to promote your business well. No, it doesn't. Yes, there are paid ads on most of the social media platforms. Yes, Google has paid ads, and there can be competition in organic search results, which are the search results that Google ranks you in on a page for a keyword search. So you can pay for results in all those places if you want to. And honestly, when I was in my former job with Enmart, we did Facebook ads quite a bit. And it was one of the cheaper ad options that we found. Now, you do have to know how they work. You do have to set your budgets carefully. You do have to watch to make sure that you're not overbidding for the keywords that you want to place for. You have to do, again, some prep work. And I know I sound like your mom saying, do your homework. Well, but you do. You do need to know what you want to do. So if you want to spend money on paid ads or promotional posts or whatever it is, or boosting posts if you're on Facebook, whatever your option might be, then you want to do your homework. So you understand how it works. You understand where the traps are. You understand what the potential problems could be, and you know how to avoid spending more money than you want to spend. But promoting your business doesn't have to cost a ton. In fact, there are some ways to do it that are actually fairly inexpensive, and we're going to talk about some of those as we go through this presentation, because I think there are some ways of promotion that are not social media that people sometimes miss. So social media, and here I'm hitting this point again. I told you I was going to tell you this a lot. It requires time, thought, and effort. You can throw a ton of money at it, and people do, but money is not going to get you where you want to be on its own. And the other thing you need to remember too is if you are in a position where you have the money to pay someone to manage your social media, which is a job that I have had in the past, then you need to be really, really sure that the person you're hiring buys into your values, understands how you want your business to be conveyed, is not going to go off the reservation and do something weird, and is going to represent your brand in the best way possible. I will say when I was hired for Ensign Emblem and Enmart back in the day, they had no marketing program. I built it all from scratch. And the owner of the company was remarkably hands-off. So their marketing program was all me, and their social media was all me, which was a double-edged sword, because when I left the company, I kind of took the brand with me, which was not at all intentional, but that's something you need to consider if you're hiring somebody else to do your marketing for you or to do your social media for you, is that they can become intertwined with the brand. And the other thing is that social media does open doors. You can make connections on social media. You have to be diligent about it, and you have to be genuine about making connections. And you have to be willing to devote the time and effort to build a true connection and to build trust. You can't just be out there looking to hook up with people for what you can get. You have to be looking to hook up with people for what you can give, if that makes any sense. And if you do that, and if you're genuine, then you will find a lot of benefit to being on social media, and you will find a lot of opportunities that you may not have otherwise found. So I think I will say social media has been of huge benefit to me. I've made a lot of friendships and a lot of connections that I never would have made otherwise. I feel extremely lucky to have the network that I have and to be a part of the groups that I'm a part of. But that also was a lot of investment of time and effort, and a lot of investment on supporting others and promoting others and helping others. It's all work, but it's all very, very worth it. So, other options besides social media. See, I told you we were going to talk about some other options. Other publicity options. Here's some that you should consider. Becoming an expert. And I know I said don't listen to the experts earlier, but in this sense, I mean, become someone who can be a resource for local news or local magazines, for trade shows that are looking for speakers. Become someone who is a subject expert in a particular area, and you will ultimately get invited to a lot of things. So it's really a worthwhile thing. And I mean, just from seeing the people who did lives in the AG attendees group yesterday, Stephanie and Jackie and Nikki, they're experts in their fields, and they came and talked to you, and they get asked to speak in a number of other places, and they do broadcast for their own stuff, and they know what they're doing. And because they know what they're doing, they have reputations that cause people to want them to be a part of their podcasts or their lives or their shows or whatever it is. And again, we're back to the dreaded W word. Yes, becoming an expert is work. You have to learn your subject. You have to be able to talk about it intelligently. You have to be able to be interesting and to be succinct, I guess is the word, to be interesting and to be able to put out accurate information is maybe a better word. So there is work involved in it, but the payoff can be huge. And it's not going to be a fast payoff. If you asked anybody who is known as an expert, and as Nikki says here, it's hard, which is definitely succinct and is so true. It's a lot of work. It's getting on camera when you don't want to be on camera. It's replying to that message when you don't want to reply to that message. It's figuring out and planning what you're going to say and what you're going to talk about and making the slides and doing all these things. But the worthwhile part of it is, number one, you're teaching people, which is amazing. You're helping people do better at what they want to do, which is amazing. And hopefully, if you keep doing it well and long enough, people start noticing, and then other opportunities come your way. So it is worth it. Another publicity option, where you work. Sounds really simple, but you'd be amazed how many people neglect to do that. Wear the shirt you made. Show off the tea towels you made. Wear the hat you made, whatever it is. And there's a lot of value in this that I think a lot of garment decoration business owners neglect. And then lastly, podcast or videos, what I'm doing now. Share your truth in living color. Share your knowledge in living color, or just share your knowledge through sound, like you're on the radio. And there are, you could probably, if I asked you, reel off, 15 or 20 different podcasts or video casts that are in this industry alone. There's a lot of people doing this. And yeah, the more people that start doing it, it is a little harder to break through the noise. But it's still worth doing, because you don't have to build a big audience to have an impact. And the longer you do it and the more dedicated you are to it, the more that people will start to notice, or that's the theory anyway. So, how to become an expert? And this is something that people have asked me before. And this is not the only way to do it. I want to say that right away. There are any number of routes to becoming an expert, but these are some of the things that I think can help you if that is one of the things that you would like to have happen to you. And I'm laughing at Nikki here. Nikki says, LOL, I am no expert. And it's kind of the wrong word. And I agree with you, Nikki, because I'm no expert either. I don't ever really call myself that, but I couldn't come up with a better term for it. So expert was kind of the term that because I don't really like personality, because I don't think that's the right way to characterize it, because we do have knowledge. We do know things. So expert's going to have to do, unless somebody can come up with a better term that I haven't thought of yet. And if you can, please tell me, because I would like to know. But if you are looking to become an expert, for lack of a better word, here are some things you can do. Practice explaining your business and what you create. And that is kind of an elevator pitch, but it might be longer than an elevator pitch. It's just being able to, sometimes you'll ask a business owner what they do and they say, oh, I embroider. I do embroidery. Oh, I screen print. And there's no meat there. There's nothing to get people excited about it. And there's nothing to set you apart. Now, if you say, oh, I combine embroidery and sublimation to make hats, that's different. That's interesting. That's something that everybody doesn't do. That's something that people go, oh, I'd like to know more about that. What does that look like? How do you do that? That's very interesting. The next thing, increase your skill level regularly. That means watch other people's podcasts, read other people's magazine articles, go to classes, go to trade shows, do what you need to do to learn how to do what you do better. And a lot of people, I think, especially once they reach the level where other people are maybe listening to them or asking them to do things, they kind of think, I've done it now. I'm good. I know what I need to know. There's always more you can know. There's always more you can learn. And really, I think the best people who are doing this kind of stuff are people who want to increase their skill level, who want to know more. And I like this, what Nikki says, because I feel like I'm sort of this too. I'm just the person with a voice, the cruise director, the chaos coordinator. I love to teach, so it just comes naturally. And yeah, I feel a lot like that too. I think most of the people that it always is weird to me when I'm somewhere, like I'm at a trade show or something, and someone comes up to me and they're really excited to see me in person. And I always look at them and go, I don't, and it's very flattering and I love it. Don't get me wrong. And it means a ton to me. But at the same time, I just feel like I'm just a person. I just do this thing because I sat down one day and decided to do it. And I don't feel like it's what I do is anything special. I feel like anybody could do it. Maybe not everybody would want to, but anybody could. So I do agree with that. When you're working to become an expert, educate your customers. And sorry, I got to grab a drink here. Make sure that your customers understand what you do and why you do it differently and better than other people. And don't underestimate the value of taking time to educate your customers. One of the things I see most often in a lot of the garment decorator groups is my customer brought this art in and it's just too small and it doesn't work, or they don't understand why I can't get this stock they want, or whatever it is. And it's complain about these awful people who are unruly and they don't do what they're supposed to do. Here's the thing. Customers don't get it. Customers just want what they want. So it's up to you to teach them why things are the way they are. That's the answer to fixing the customers that are being annoyed. Answer questions online and in person. And this is another thing where social media can really come in handy. If you are someone who is looking to get known in a certain area, find groups or find pages that talk about that stuff and answer questions. And answer questions just out of the goodness of your heart, not looking for anything else to happen. Don't answer them in an effort to sell something. Don't answer them in an effort to push your own agenda. Just answer them to be helpful. And if you get known as someone who gives good answers, and honestly, I think if you were to ask Eric, and I know certainly me, that's kind of how we started a little bit, is just getting out there and answering genuinely because we wanted to help. And that became, people started knowing who we were. And then that kind of snowballed something into other things. And if you publish articles about your work, that's definitely one of the ways I got started. Thank you, Nicole Rollander, for that. Nicole Rollander and Stitches Magazine, way back in the day. That's where I started writing. And be a joiner. And I am not a joiner in reality, in actual life. I'm not a club person, but I will join groups and I will join things online because that's a way of networking and that's a way of forming collaborations. And that's honestly a way of contributing. If you join a group and be someone that other people can get answers from, that's a huge way to network. It's a huge benefit to the group and to you. So definitely do it. And then the other half of this equation, where do you do these things? Well, and granted, I know none of this is rocket science, but I still like to point them out. Educate your customers when you interact with them and where you interact with them. You can put information on your invoices. You can have information on your websites. Don't neglect the FAQ section of your website. You can do videos and little pieces of content to put on social media. That's a huge thing that I think more businesses could be doing. And they don't have to be beautiful, immaculate pieces of content. They can just be you standing in front of a piece of equipment saying, hey, here's this equipment. I want to tell you about it and what it does. It doesn't have to be gorgeous. It doesn't have to be perfectly lit. Trust me, last week, and I've been doing this, I'm almost 100 episodes into this show. Last week, I had the window open because I wanted natural light. So I had the blinds open on my window. and the sun came out and was right in my face, and I had to go shut the blinds in the middle of a live show because it looks stupid if I left them open. And like I said, I've been doing this for a long time now. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be an effort to share and educate. Learn from online seminars and webinars or at trade shows. Definitely think this is not a plug for Virtual Applique Getaway, but Virtual Applique Getaway. There are other virtual events that go on all the time. I know Sheila Ryan is participating in a turkey trot with a bunch of digitizers right now, I believe, and they're sharing each other's groups and stuff. You could go there. I know Carly Bell is doing some kind of Christmas design roundup thing. I'm not really sure what it is, but there's something else you could look at. The Sassy Summer does things all the time. That's Nikki, for those of you who may not be aware. There are always, things that you can learn from. Condi has online seminars, all this stuff. You can learn from all these things and gain more knowledge, which you can then share with others. Cultivate local sources or online sources who will have a need for expert input for articles or videos. And honestly, I think this is one of the things that local businesses, especially those that have brick and mortar premises, miss really, really a lot, which is having worked in local television and having worked for a local newspaper way, way back in the day. I know how much they're craving content, how much they're looking for press releases, how much they're looking for people to come on their morning news show and have coffee with the local morning news anchor and talk about the 5 trends for t-shirts this holiday season or whatever it is. So look for those people, figure out who they are, find a niche or come up with an idea and propose it. People think that local news is like this big glamorous thing. It really isn't. You'd be surprised how easy it is to become a part of it, honestly. And they're looking for people to do that because they have all this time to fill. And if they can get you to do it and you're willing to do it basically for promotional publicity, then they don't have to pay anybody. So it's a win for everybody. And join your local chamber of commerce or hobbyist groups. This is another way to network, find other people in your community, get some word of mouth going, all that. So basically what I'm saying here is talk a lot, make sure you're getting online a lot, make sure you're learning a lot and improving your skills, and network. That's basically my tips. A press release. Press release is a valuable tool, and I think that a lot of people neglect this, and they shouldn't. And the press release is one of those things that you can send to industry magazines or local magazines and newspapers or television stations or radio stations or podcasts in your industry, whatever it is. And basically, it's an official statement that you give to the members of the news media telling them something that you want them to know. And they're not hard. You can find press release templates. If you Google press release template, I guarantee you can find a ton of them. So they're not hard to write. And the format is very simple. And they don't have to be really long. They can be like 2 or 3 paragraphs. But what they do is they get your announcement or your thing in front of people who otherwise wouldn't see it. And having worked for magazines that actually had entire columns or pages that were just about press release information, if you look at most of the industry magazines, you will see a section where they're just talking about new equipment or news happenings. Those are mostly all press releases. So being able to write a press release and being willing to write a press release is a huge thing. And I think it's a hugely neglected way to get your business noticed. And I wish more people would take advantage of it. And if you're not sure how to write a press release, if you'd like some input or some support while you write a press release, I would be happy to help you with that. Components of a good press release: headline, summary, which is the who, what, when, where, and why, which are Well, it was the 5 W's and an H actually when I was in journalism school, which was who, what, when, where, why, and how. But who's doing the thing? What are they doing? When is it happening? Where is it happening? And why is it happening? Basically, the date and location. The date and location is where you are and what. Excuse me. What date the press release is being written. The body is the main information. What is the nugget of information that you want people to know? And it's basically, we are having a grand opening. It's our 10th anniversary. We just got a new machine. We developed this great new cool way to press t-shirts. We're going to be speaking, or I'm going to be speaking at this trade show, whatever it is. That's what goes in your body. The boilerplate is at the end, and that's basically usually an About Us program. X company has been in business for so many years. We are based in this. We do this. It's something that if it goes away, it's not going to kill the main message. But if it gets added, it's a nice little bonus kind of nugget of information about who you are and what you do. So it's another way to get the message out about who you are and what you do. And the boilerplate paragraph is usually the same for any press release you write. It's just, here's who we are, here's what we do, here's what you need to know. But if it goes away, you're still going to know about the main thing we wanted you to know. And then the end is usually indicated by 3 of the number signs. That's the standard professional press release end. You can also just put hyphen end hyphen. You don't have to put anything. Doesn't really matter. But if you're doing the standard press release format, you use the 3. I want to call them hashtags now, but they're number signs. Who gets a press release? Most magazines and news outfits will have information in their mastheads or on their websites detailing who should receive press releases. This is an example of a masthead, and you can look at the masthead and you'll see editor and you'll see managing editor and editors for the various sections and who's on the staff and whatever. If you go to a news station website, you'll probably see something similar under staff. Some places they will say they will have a press release editor. Other places they'll just say, please send press releases to this email or whatever it is. Either way, the press release will still get to the person that it needs to get to. If you don't want to send the press release to, if they don't say, press releases should go to this place, I usually just pick the highest ranking editor on staff, which is usually the managing editor, the executive editor, or the senior editor, and send it to them. And you got nothing to lose by doing it, because nobody is going to be offended by receiving a press release. And most times they may find it useful. So take a shot and try it. You got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Next option, wearing your work. So I call this, when I was back at Ensign and Enmart, we called this being a walking billboard. And a lot of people use this phrase. And it basically means build your personal and company brand by wearing and using your work, and get friends and family to do the same. And also get customers to take pictures and post them on social media of them wearing things that you made for them. Another thing which is huge for those of us that write for industry magazines, when we put requests out for, hey, are you willing to give us a quote for this article? Or, hey, do you have a picture because I'm writing an article about this subject? If you have a picture, I'd love to have it because I need pictures for the article. Send something. I will say, because this is a pet peeve of mine, if you are sending pictures for an article, it must be 300 DPI and at least 1 megabyte in size, because they need to be big enough to be manipulated and they need to be 300 DPI for print. And I get people all the time who send me great pictures, but they're too small or the DPI is too low. And so I can't use them. And my editor will come back to me and say, I love this picture. I wish we could use it. Can you get a better one? And then I have to go back and try to get a better one. And okay, sometimes there isn't a better one available, which is a bummer. But I think this is something that people see those requests and they go, oh, that's, I don't know if I want to do that, or gee, it's kind of presumptuous for people to ask for this. We're asking because we can give you publicity if you'll work with us. And, never underestimate the value of seeing your quote and your name or seeing your picture in a national magazine. That's something that your customers will be impressed by. And I'm sorry for the coughing. I don't know what's going on with this. And also use a lot of pictures of your work on your website. Don't Photoshop art on blanks if at all possible. I know there are times when you have to do it. My personal opinion is most of the time you can tell when that's done, but I also understand that good photography is tough. I get that. And the reasons why being a walking billboard works: it allows people to see your work in action. It allows people to see customers that are happy with your work, which is huge. Demonstrates your artistry and your creative flair. Inspires people to imagine themselves wearing the garments or using the items. This is why lifestyle photos are so important. And people talk about this a lot. Show people actually using the items. Don't just show them standing there. Or show people wearing the items while they're doing something fun. Because it lets people that are maybe considering buying the items put themselves in the picture. Good images capture the attention of the viewer on websites, and good video does the same thing. I cannot, well, I probably could, but the importance of good photography is huge. And you need to invest in the ability to take the best pictures you can. If you know you're not a good photographer, spend the money to have a professional come in and do it for you, because it will be worth it. And relevant images enhance the user experience. So if you have good images and if they're relevant to whatever the user wants to do on your website, whatever they're looking for when they're reading an article, it's going to make more of an impact than it would otherwise. So, and this is a statistic, and that was a harder word to say than you would think, that really blew my mind. 90% of the total information transmitted to your brain is visual. Like I said, I'm a words girl. So the fact that 90% of the information that goes to your brain is visual blew my mind. But it's definitely a good statistic to support the idea of wearing your work and making people see it. And still, I don't know. I mean, it was a scientific journal in which I found this stat. So I feel like it's accurate, but it still feels weird to me. Podcasts and videos. Video is 80% more effective than printed material, which again, just shredded my writer's heart like you would not believe. But I believe there's truth to it. Viewers retain 95% of the messages they see in videos versus 10% of what they see in text. Consumers who end up on an e-commerce site through a user-generated video are 184% more likely to purchase and spend 45% more. So there's some stats for you on video. And I will put my hand up to this. I'm a late convert to video. It took me a long time to get comfortable on camera. It took me a long time. My default is always going to be, oh, I'll write something. I like words. I like lots and lots and lots of words. And that's fine. And I'm good at words, but I am learning the value of pictures. I am learning the value of video. And you also should keep in mind that the trend of podcasts that are also now video casts has become a really big thing. It used to be that podcasts were basically like radio. It was just, you heard the audio only. And now a lot of people, even if they are releasing the audio, they're also releasing the video of when they recorded the podcast, or they're doing something like I do. Now I can pull the audio from this, and often do. I have a whole file full of them that eventually I hope to put up as a podcast somewhere. But most of the streaming services nowadays will allow you to do both. So you can have both a video cast and an audio cast. Now, the question becomes, which is better? Depends on, some people don't feel it's necessary to be on camera. Some people just aren't comfortable being on camera, or they don't want to spend the time getting dressed and ready to be on camera. There's all sorts of different ways that you can do it now. And I think that's part of the fun, is you can pick the one that works for you, because any way you do it is better than nothing, honestly. So if you're not comfortable being on camera, then record an audio, record just a straight up podcast and share it with your customers or share it with your community. Doesn't have to be a big deal. That's the other thing that I think people need to remember, is that especially since the pandemic, there are a lot of people doing podcasts out there who just did what I did, which is my original. If you watch the first few episodes of this show, it was me sitting at my dining room table, and they're horrible in terms of production value. They're great in terms of content, but they're horrible in terms of production value. So you don't have to be great. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to try, and you just have to make an effort. But I think really what I want you to take away from all of this, and I think, is that there are a lot of ways that you can do video, and there are a lot of ways that you can communicate with people. And it doesn't really matter which you pick, and it doesn't really matter if they're the most professional in the world. It just matters that you're trying to communicate and you're trying to make a connection. And as for these types of videos, educational videos, pretty self-explanatory. I'm trying to teach you something, or I'm trying to share some knowledge with you. Advertisements, again, pretty self-explanatory. You know what an advertisement is. Video demonstrating equipment, that's what I was saying. Stand in front of your embroidery machine with your phone and watch it run. Show how your heat press works. Show the steps of printing something and printing a sublimation transfer and sublimating something. A how-to video, again, show the steps of something. How do you do this? How do you make a wind spinner? How do you put rhinestones on a shirt? How do you do this? It's basically like teaching people something. A peek behind the scenes. I like peek behind the scenes videos, because those are videos that let people get to know you and just share a little tidbit that maybe everybody doesn't always get to see. A video cast that airs weekly on a particular subject. That would be what this is. Women in Business, every Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yes, that was a plug. Hi, I'm doing something every week. I'd like you to come join me. And a product video, which is, this is a product that we sell and we'd like you to buy it, and here's why, and here's what's good about it, and here's what you can use it for. And testimonial videos, which are basically your customers maybe being interviewed by you or just on their own, saying, here's why I like working with them. Here's what they've done for me. Here's why they're awesome. You know all these types of videos. You've seen them before. You just have to get behind making them for your own benefit. And really, what I want you to take away from this the most is this last slide here. If you don't tell them, they won't know. And the less you say and show, the less that you will sell. It's that simple. And you can't expect other people to spread the word for you. It's great if they do, and sometimes they will, and that's awesome. But you have to be in charge of getting your message out there. You can't expect other people to do it for you. That is all I want you to get from this today, really. I went through a lot of stuff really quickly. I know that. I hope you got something out of this today. I hope that it helped you. If you want to discuss it, if you have any questions, you can always find me. I'm in a lot of places. So come find me in one of those places and we will talk. And that is all I have to share with you today. Thank you all for spending the time with me today. I appreciate it so much. I'm sorry my voice went wacky, but that seems to be what it does these days. I don't know why. And Sheila says, good words, Christine. Thank you, Sheila. I liked them too. I thought they were pretty good. Thank you, everybody. I will see you all next week. And I appreciate you spending time with me today. Bye, everybody.